All right, hello everybody. My name is Jim Shelvy. I'm one of the co-founders here at NexCore, and today we continue our real conversation series with Coleen Dabbs. Hi, Coleen. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Jim, so grateful to be here. Super excited.
So, as is sometimes the case when you're doing video, this is take two.
That's right.
Right. So we had a little fun with take one, and then the camera fell over, and we couldn't get the angle right. So we're starting over. I'm always so excited to do these, and this is the first time I've explained this on camera, but this is the real conversation, REEL, because we record it. But the reason why it's so much fun to do is because they're always very real, REAL, and authentic and genuine. So I'm excited to be here with you because I don't know that much about you. Mm-hmm. And you told me before that you're a little bit nervous.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, don't be. We can edit out any mistakes that you make.
Love
if the camera falls over, we'll start over. It's fine.
Okay.
But I was asking how often your name gets destroyed or butchered up when people are talking with you or writing it down.
Yes, I've gotten Coleen like a man, Collin, Coleen with two L's because I'm Coleen with one L.
Right.
My name is actually a mistake. I was supposed to be Pauline because my maiden name starts with an S, my last name. And my father and brother are both Philip, and their initials are PS. So my mom thought it would be really cool that
if
my initials
were
PS. And so I guess back in 1968, the nurses filled out your birth certificate. So when she said Pauline, they thought she said Colleen. So they brought it back with the name Colleen, and she cried and cried. My mom was 19 when she had me. So she cried and cried, and then afterwards said, but I like that better. Can you just take one L out? Because her dad and brother are Philip with one L. So I ended up with Coleen with one L. And so it's an accident, but it seems to have attached itself to me. And I mentioned to you before we started over, the worst mistake was Starbucks gave me my caramel apple cider with Coleen as my name. So I've now, ever since that day, I'm Sam, I'm Lisa, I'm Tina, I'm anyone but Coleen.
At the Starbucks.
At the Starbucks. And Dabbs gets Dabbs or Dobbs. I'll take either one kind of now as well.
Fair enough.
Yep. And I mentioned to you that my middle name doesn't really get mentioned too often because most people can't say it. Yeah.
Is that what you have on Facebook? Is that your middle?
I do, yes.
All right, so confession. Mm-hmm. I've sat in front of the screen trying to figure out how to pronounce it a couple times.
Okay.
So can you pronounce it?
It is Ku'ulealoha. And it is Hawaiian.
Is that Hawaiian? Yeah.
It is. My mother's Hawaiian, and it means my beloved wreath of love.
Say it one more time.
Ku'ulealoha. Like a lei, like a flower lei, and then aloha, just like you say when you get to Hawaii.
And it's all one word?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see where people would mess that up.
Yeah, but I do always get asked that. What's your name? Are you Hawaiian? Are you from Hawaii? I get that asked all the time.
I thought it was some kind of nickname or like your company name, your LLC name.
Yeah.
Like just right on in there in Facebook.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's my birth given name.
Well, I think when I first met you, it was you were here visiting. Is that correct?
No, I had just moved here.
Just moved here. So where did you move from?
I moved from California. I was born and raised there. And I'm married and have 3 children, 2 amazing grandsons, and lived in California forever. And where I live now, I need to always make the disclaimer. When you tell someone in St. Louis, I moved from California, they look at you like, why would you do that? It's so beautiful in California. Okay, so the disclaimer is not all of California looks like Santa Barbara, San Diego, or Disneyland. That's my first disclaimer. There's a lot of California that's desert, which is the portion where I lived. And so the average summer temperature is 105. That is not even a hot day. That's an average day. It can get to 112, 115. And so when you're 49 years old and you're just getting ready for those hot flashes to come on strong, you've had enough of 100 something. So
you moved 10 years prior to that date, so you could be here at
yeah,
39.
Yeah, yeah. So, and all three of our kids have gone. They live in a different state, and my husband said, let's move. And I thought, all right, I want to go to Wyoming. It's cool in Wyoming. Great temperatures. Let's go there. There's nobody there. We could be alone. He said, no, let's move to St. Louis. I said, oh no. I know what Missouri's like. I've been to Missouri. I'm not going there. And I have family from Gainesville, Missouri. Have you
Okay.
ever been to Gainesville, Missouri?
No, not even heard of it.
Okay, so Gainesville, Missouri is almost in Arkansas.
Okay.
It is about an hour from Mountain Home. They have one.
Never heard of that either.
Okay, they have one hotel or motel. It's the Antler Inn, and so you really don't stay at the Antler Inn. You stay in Mountain Home, Arkansas, at like the Quality Inn if you're going to go visit in Gainesville. And there's nothing there. I think the population is 400 people or some sort of thing, and that's where my father's family is from. And so I told my husband, "There's no way. I am not moving to Missouri. I've been there." He said, "Well,
So that's what you thought Missouri.
all of Missouri."
Right.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I moved to Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'll tell that story another time, but continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he said the reason why he picked St. Louis, Missouri is my husband is a born and raised California St. Louis Cardinals fan.
Knew it. Cardinal Nation. Going strong.
Absolutely, all the way to the West Coast.
Fantastic.
And so now my kids are all Cardinals fans as well as my grandsons have no choice. And so he said, let's just go where the Cardinals live. And I
Let's go where the Cardinals live.
yeah. So I thought, well, I'll go on vacation, we'll see. Because I heard it's really humid here.
Right.
So we came in the summer. Well, no, it was Labor Day weekend. And it was, I think, one of the hottest Labor Day weekends they had in I don't know how many years. So it was miserable. But it was totally doable. I think I was totally trapped by the Cardinals Nation thing.
Right.
It's insane here.
It is.
Everything's red.
It should be.
I agree, but I didn't expect it.
We have, so our blue logo, we also have a red version.
I didn't know that.
It's on the wall in the back.
A red one? Is it red or is it orange? It's red?
It's NexCore Red,
NexCore red.
which is orange to everyone else.
Okay, because orange is my favorite, very favorite color ever.
Well,
No one
we
likes
made
it.
it orange just for you.
That's right.
It was preemptive. We did that on purpose.
Yeah, so we came, needless to say, I loved it. We came back one more year to just check it out again, and still liked it. So we said, okay. And so I live downtown because I go on my walks
Fantastic.
and I walk by that stadium as frequently as possible. I love it, the feeling and the people, and yeah, it's great.
Wonderful. Well, now you are an entrepreneur, correct?
I am.
So you have the incredible advantage, and this is not a dig on anybody that has a job or isn't an entrepreneur, but you have the advantage of being able to pick up and go and basically start fresh without altering a career path. So let's talk a little bit about what you do and what your company is.
Okay. Well, I'm an independent agent.
Okay?
So I am self-employed. I have no employees. I have no boss. I am independent. But what I am is I'm an agent directly related to Revolution Financial Management.
Okay.
And they are a portion of World Financial Group.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people haven't heard of us. You're not the only one. We are actually changing the world, and people don't realize that. What we do is, I'm actually a financial facilitator or financial coach, is what we are referred to. And we go into and we educate families. There's so much financial illiteracy here in this country, and it needs to be addressed. I'm not sure if you're aware, but 45 states in our country require sex ed in high school. 5 states, and it's only increased to 5 in the last year and a half. 5 states require financial education in
Wow.
high school. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And we believe that every family is being directly affected by that.
Sure.
And so we go out and we educate families. And we go and we teach them basic fundamentals where anybody can understand it. And then once we do that, most of the time the people will say, well, how can I get help with that? Can you help me to save for my retirement? Can you help me to save for college for my brand new baby? Or can you help me straighten out my credit a little bit? And at that point, that's where I go into actual facilitator mode.
Right.
We work with over 200 of the largest financial companies in the country, maybe even of the world. We work with, Transamerica, we are actually, those that are securities licensed for our company, they actually are direct financial advisors for Transamerica. So everyone's heard of Transamerica, the tall building in San Francisco, right? We work with Fidelity, we work with Franklin Templeton, we work with Nationwide, we work with all the big names. And what I do is I educate these families, then when they say they need my help, I connect them with these large companies, and then they work together directly, and then I often will step out of the picture until the client has some questions.
And then you step back.
And then I step back in the picture and we kind of analyze what's going on, and they ask me their questions. If I don't have an answer, I am super blessed that I come from a line of people that in this organization that are super successful. I'm not sure if there's Cash Rastan is my direct executive vice chairman. I work with Greg Kapp, I work with Ed Milet, I work with Jeff Levitan, and all these people, the one thing they all have in common is they're entrepreneurs. They want to help people. So those are their two biggest driving forces, and they do so by building their own foundations and going out and educating people. And the great thing about what I do is everything I do is free. I charge nobody a dime.
Wow.
You have yet to hear from anybody who says, oh yeah, she asked me to pay her some money to do this and that. I do everything for free.
Wow.
Yeah, and we help individual families. We help large companies. We actually represent Southwest Airlines and do all of their, so it goes huge to just the little family next door and everybody in between.
So what is the most rewarding experience you've had doing this? Is there a particular story or family that stands out? And obviously you don't have to share their name, but...
Yeah. It's actually been here in Missouri.
Okay.
I met with a gal that I go to church with, and she's a single lady, never been married, no children. Her parents have both passed. She has no biological siblings, and so she really has no one to leave her estate to. And she said, can you just come and look at my stuff and just... I'm not really sure I know what it is I have. And I said, sure, let's look at whatever you have, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, if you have a trust fund, whatever you got, tell me what you got. We looked at all of her documents, and she said, well, my life insurance policy, when I'm 65, I'm told that I can just go and surrender the policy and I'll get $10,000 back. And I was kind of taken back by it because the kind of policy it was doesn't normally allow you to do that. And I said, well, let's take a look at it. Let me look at it in depth. So I read page by, and those things are long.
Right.
Page by page. And what I discovered was that she had to surrender it at 63 and a half, not at 65. If she would have waited till 65, like the person had advised her to do, she would have lost all her money. And thank goodness she's just creeping up on 60, so it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So, and she really hasn't become a client. And so it's not like I have this huge success story that I made tons of money by helping this lady. The best success is that I educated her.
Sure.
And I helped her to save what little she had. She doesn't have a ton, but she was devastated. She was angry when she heard that. And I said, don't worry about it. We got you covered.
Caught it in time.
Yes. And of course, she has referred me to a number of her friends who she believes probably don't understand all the things that they have either. And that's how our company works. We don't advertise. We don't have commercials or anything like that. It's all by referral. And that saves so much money. That's another reason why we can do it for free.
Gotcha. So there's an old saying that says, what you don't know can't hurt you, but what you don't know can devastate you.
Yes.
So you help people be protected, it sounds like.
We protect them in every way possible.
So why did you decide to do this career path? What's the driving force behind Coleen Dabbs and what she does?
Well, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I worked in corporate accounting and did a lot of financial analysis of financial statements and finding crooks in Nationwide stores and that sort of thing, I like the investigative part. And then after 8 years of corporate accounting, my husband and I had our second child. And then, surprise, our third child came along 17 months later. And we,
Just so you know, it's not a surprise. They know what causes that.
well, I'm not going to go into the details about that whole thing because technically, scientifically, he shouldn't have come at the time he came.
Right?
But he is here and, he's amazing.
Is he one of the ones that has a grandchild? Or
No.
has a child now?
No,
Okay.
he is the baby.
Gotcha.
He's the baby, and he's 6'2", 240 pounds. He's a baseball player.
So just
And he's the
Just a
little
baby.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the baby. And so, when you have a third child and you start to weigh, okay, this is what I make. This is the time I spend on the 91 freeway in Southern California. And this is how much time I get to spend with my family. And then the net effect dollar-wise is so little. We realized I needed to stay at home.
Right.
And so I was a stay-at-home mom for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And while I was a stay-at-home mom, I earned my master's degree in business administration. And I thought that's going to get me a great job as soon as my son leaves the house. Yeah, lies. I'm telling every one of you, there is no guarantee if you get a master's degree that you're going to have an amazing job. Because everyone's becoming educated.
Right.
Okay? A friend of ours does what I do now. And he said, I think you'd be really great at what we do. But we found ourselves in a financial position that we weren't in good shape, my husband and I. And I know that I'm just realizing, this is going to be on social media. So that's not something I've shared publicly. And financially, we weren't in a place where we should have been. And our friend who works with Revolution Financial Management said, I think we can help. We can help you reorganize the way you're financially expending everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we can help you, if you're interested, to earn a little bit of extra money to make things a little lighter on your load. And I thought about it. My husband has been an entrepreneur his whole life, and I'm coming to find out I too have always been. I didn't realize that. And I always wondered why I didn't fit in certain little positions in businesses and corporations. But I realized I want to be in control of my time.
Right.
I don't want to get a job. I have grandkids now. I want all my time and energy to go to them, if at all possible.
Yeah.
And you can't do that when you work 9 to 5.
And 9 to 5 is really like 7 to 7.
Right. But, and I know you know this, you don't apologize for it. You're here like 5 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. till midnight. You're here a lot of hours a day, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Not so much those hours anymore, but
Okay.
when we were getting going, it was crazy.
Tons of hours, right?
Right.
So it's not like you're going to get 9 to 5 or more time if you're an entrepreneur. You're going to put in more hours, more energy. You're going to have sleepless nights with your mind racing and racing. I want to build on here. I want to add this. I want to have this kind of company coming in next. And so being an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily give you tons of time, but you can do it wherever you go, which is what allowed me to leave California and come to St. Louis. But coming to St. Louis, the big thing was I came alone.
Yes, you were here first for a while.
Yeah.
Is Eric here now?
No.
Oh.
But he comes and visits once a month. I was going to California. I'm like, why am I coming here? It's hot here still.
Right.
You need to come to St. Louis. So he comes here once a month to visit. His career in California, they're trying to keep him there as long as possible because he's been doing it for 20 years and he's pretty indispensable and they're not happy about him leaving. So they're pulling out all the stops to get him to stay as long as possible. So, but with me coming here, I knew no one. And when you talk to people about money, everybody tightens up. Like you can physically see them tighten up. And one of the biggest things we found with what we do is you need to just get to know people. Let them see you're real. No pun intended, maybe.
Right.
But you get to see, they need to see how real you are and that you're not here to take their money. You want to educate them. You want to help them. You want to prepare the future for their kids. And then as well as the people that I work with, I get to work with major motivators. all the time. I'm educated constantly, whatever area of finance there is. And I got to start a business. I mean, I can only imagine the amount of money you put into starting NexCore. But when you come into our business, it's a minimal amount of money that to get your own business started, and then everything's up to you. However hard you work is what the return you get.
Right.
However little you work, your paycheck reflects that as well. And you gotta take risk. You know that.
Sure.
Got to take risk. I came to St. Louis, knew nobody. Spent an entire year doing very little business, but making a lot of friendships and relationships, which has now, being that I've been here about 14 months now, business is starting to change quite a bit.
Well, congratulations. You mentioned something earlier, and I've been meaning to get back to it. But you said, I guess I've kind of always been an entrepreneur. So everyone that says that tends to have that story that they didn't realize at the time, but they go back and look. So what was your first, maybe even as a child, what was your first entrepreneurial adventure before you realized that it was an entrepreneurial adventure?
Okay, that's such a great question. To get to my story, I'm going to first tell you quickly about my husband. I didn't know I was an entrepreneur. He told me.
Okay.
And I was like, no, I'm a 9-to-5 gal. I go to He goes, no, you did this and you did that and you did this. My husband, when he was in elementary school, he discovered that little kids like candy. And he would, when he'd go with his parents to the store, he would buy extra candy with his allowance and then take it to school and sell it at a profit.
I love that.
In 5th grade.
I love it.
He's always been like that. Now, me, on the other hand, the one that I know for a fact where I didn't realize until my husband pointed out, I went to a very small university in California. And I earned a full scholarship to play volleyball at Illinois State University, and chose not to go to Illinois because I was a California girl. Yeah. And so instead, I went to a private school.
Okay.
And while we were there, I was just worried. I wanted to be a CPA. I wanted to have a great resume so I could get the job at a CPA firm and become certified, right? And my girlfriends and I, we realized we need to join a sorority. We need to be involved in a sorority. So there were 2 on campus because it was a very, very small school.
Right.
And each of the sororities kind of had like a little stigma attached to them. Like you kind of needed to be this kind of person if you wanted to join that one, or this kind of person if you wanted to join that one. And we didn't really fit into either one. And we were like, let's make our own. And so within a year, 12, 20-year-olds figured out how to incorporate a sorority on campus. And we just figured we'd all graduate and the thing would die down. And now 30 years later, it's the largest sorority on campus. Universities are asking them if they'll go national, so that way they can have a chapter on different university campuses. They are philanthropies. They're involved in cystic fibrosis, and they're involved in abuse in the country and making people aware of that. And
are you comfortable sharing the name?
yes, it's Iota Delta sorority at the University of Laverne.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about business and a little bit about you. Now I want to talk a little more about you, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. And this is where the conversation tends to turn. And I asked you before if there was anything off limits, and you said no. So you had a bit of a scare recently that caused you to have to leave town for a little bit. Are you comfortable sharing about that?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for asking about that. By the way, everyone here at NexCore is family. People texted me, people emailed me, they wanted to know if everything was okay in regards to that. And about maybe 2 months ago now, my oldest daughter, who's 26 years old, discovered she had been having pain in her back. And it'd been going on since probably May. And as the year progressed, it got worse and worse. And she finally realized that she was having numbness in her right leg. And her husband kept convincing her, go to the doctor, you need to have this checked. Well, they also have a 6-year-old. And he has Down syndrome, and he's very, very active. And she's like, I can't take time out to go to the doctor.
Right.
And he said, you have to go. Well, finally, one day she noticed she lost strength in her right leg, and she was having difficulty walking and getting out of bed and getting out of a chair. And so she went to a doctor, and all they did was take x-rays, and they said, well, you have some degeneration in your spine, but here's some steroids, go home, take these, and then come back in 10 days and we'll reevaluate you. Well, within about 3 days, the pain had gone, but the numbness got worse, and the lack of use, the inability to use her leg became worse. And so she finally went back to the doctor, and this time they did an MRI. And by the time the neurologist came in, he says, wow, did you see your MRI? And she said, no. And he said, well, it's quite impressive. And she says, like, impressive good or impressive bad? And he said, oh no. He said, it's not good. And she's 26 years old, and she had 2 bulging discs, and one of them was bulging so much so it was crushing the nerves in her spine. And so what they had to do was, they said, it was a Friday night, they said, we're going to check you in, you'll be our first surgery in the morning. So at 7:30 in the morning, she goes into surgery. Well, the surgeon came out and explained to my son-in-law that had they put off her surgery for, he estimates, 1 more hour, she'd have been paralyzed in her right leg. And it was about to puncture the nerves. And if that would have happened, there would be no repairing it. And so she does, at 26 years old, she has a degeneration in her spine. And she'll constantly be in pain, but she's a tough little gal, and she gets through it. She actually just moved here to St. Louis for a little while with our grandson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her husband is a budding football star, and he's going to play in the IFL in North Dakota. And she said, not going to North Dakota. So she's going to be here for his season, which is he starts in February to July. And then he has good possibility to go to the NFL. So they'll be here temporarily, and she's doing great, and she's super healthy, been cleared by the doctor. Now she's going to get back in shape. So yeah, thank you for asking. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. So as an entrepreneur, you got to just pick up and go.
It's the greatest thing about being an entrepreneur.
And now she's here. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you've been in St. Louis about 14 months. Mm-hmm. I've got some St. Louis questions.
Oh my,
you.
okay.
So one of the things I talk about a lot in this series is the way that St. Louis is portrayed or perceived outside of St. Louis. Because I happen to think it's a pretty amazing city with really amazing people and architecture and history and culture. So how has it been for you since you got here? What are some of the highlights of being a St. Louisan now?
Oh, I love it. I love it here. The one drawback, you asked about highlights, but I'm going to tell you my drawback. People in California, their impression is that St. Louis is a dangerous city. And I guess maybe it's the media that portrays it that way. I'm not sure. I don't watch much news. It doesn't serve me any
I don't
good.
think there is much news anymore.
Yeah, right?
It's all skewed.
Yes. So I have to remind them that St. Louis is, in my opinion, the most inclusive, welcoming place I've ever been to. I took a video one night. I was at Ballpark Village watching one of the Cardinals games outside, and there were kids of all shapes, sizes, abilities, colors, you name it. And there was an older guy in a wheelchair. He wanted to pitch to the kids. They're playing wiffle ball outside. This older guy in a wheelchair pitching to the kids swinging, parents running around chasing balls down, laughing and having a great time. And it is the perfect depiction of St. Louis to me. It's for everyone and anyone, no matter what you look like, where you come from. And they just open their arms to you. I have been very welcomed, and I live downtown, and I've had
You're in
no
the
bad
thick of it.
experience. I am. I
in the
love
thick of
it.
it.
The energy is amazing in St. Louis.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I love the architecture. Don't have this stuff in California.
No.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
What about, so I was visiting St. Louis. I from here moved away, coming back, heading out of town, stopped at Emo's.
Okay.
And the guy that was taking the pizza order said, "Now, have you eaten here before?" And I said, "Of course." He goes, "All right, because I don't want to hear anything about the burnt cracker." Right?
Oh
So
gosh. Okay.
your take on St. Louis style pizza. Good, bad, love it, hate it?
I haven't had St. Louis pizza.
Okay.
I'm gluten-free.
We're going to have to talk about this.
I
don't know how to do.
I know.
I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's a gluten-free version of St. Louis style pizza.
And it's not going to be the same. Let's be honest. Nothing gluten-free is the same as anything else. Right?
That's true. Can you take one bite and be okay?
I can.
Okay.
I can. I'm
We're gonna have to
tempted.
do that.
I'm tempted, but I have not tried St. Louis pizza.
There is Emo's Pizza in the building as we speak. You should go have a piece.
Oh my!
It's in the fishbowl conference room, but that's
Okay,
a whole
maybe.
different story.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off camera.
All right, what is your favorite place you visited in St. Louis?
Favorite place I visited? Oh my goodness, put me on the spot. The Science Museum.
Okay.
Love the Science Museum.
This city's cool. It's got a lot of stuff.
Oh my gosh! The best thing was they had this giant hamster wheel that you could run in. It was so cool.
Tell me you have a video of you running in this.
Not
The
me,
hamster
not
there.
me. But I do have a video of my 6'2", 240-pound kid running in it.
Okay.
It's so
So
awesome.
this video is being recorded, but it's going to go out on December 26th. You have to promise me that video will be a comment.
Okay. I'll
Tag
see if I
him
can
in this.
find it. Yeah.
All right. I want to begin. Let's kind of wrap up here. You seem to really have your stuff together, but I know a lot of times for entrepreneurs, there's two terms. One is fake it till you make it, and the other is faith it till you make it. And you strike me as a faith it person, faith it till you make it kind of person. So where you are now, you already shared that you weren't in a great place at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say? I'd like you to say that to the aspiring entrepreneurs, specifically if you're comfortable, the aspiring female entrepreneurs that happen to also be mothers. Because I think my wife was typed in a post and said mothers are the only people that are required to work 2 full-time jobs, the one where they work and the one where they go home and start work.
Yeah.
So, and as a guy, to be just candid, I'm not as sensitive to that as I think I should be at times. Don't use that against me, Warren. But say something to the people that might be where you were, looking to get where they're going. What would be your message to them about the struggle and what it took and the perseverance that it takes?
Yeah, that's pretty personal for me. Stay-at-home mom for almost 20 years. People underestimate you, and they don't realize how powerful you are. And one of the things I'd like for women to know that regardless if you've given birth to children, adopted children, or you're the most amazing aunt to children, or you're a mother of a dog, because we have those. We have dog moms now, right? And it doesn't matter. They consume your heart. And it's okay that your heart is in two places, that you want this business to succeed and you want to love the people who depend on you more than anything else. It's really okay to be split like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Take the tools you've been given. I have, and I'll try to make it brief, I have my whole life been given the tool of being independent, and this may sound kind of strange, but of being kind of angry. And I had a rough childhood. Don't need to go into detail, but yeah, pretty rough childhood, and became very independent at about the age of 4. And so I always thought that I had to get rid of this anger that I had and replace it with all this love. And I've recently had this epiphany that my anger about whatever was going on in my life became this valuable tool that made me so stubborn that I never gave up. It's whatever tools you're given. We all have these special things, and you know what yours is. But we all have this special thing that triggers us, that makes our face flush and makes get like our temperature raise a little bit. Use that tool and allow it Don't let anyone tell you can't use it. I've been for probably the last 5 years listening to people tell me, oh, you need to not be angry. You need to just replace it with love. Sometimes it doesn't work for some of us. Sometimes anger fires you up and you're like, I am going to do this much business this month and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that anger can fuel you.
It's a driver.
So,
sure.
yeah. So whatever your special gift, tool, whatever you want to call it, is use it to your advantage. And then most importantly, I want to make sure that every woman knows, surround yourself with people who will support you. Because, and it's okay if you lose some friends along the way, because being an entrepreneur, you're gonna lose friends. They won't understand the 4 a.m. to midnight schedule.
Right.
They'll think you're insane, or they won't understand that you can't go out and party with them Saturday night because you're working on the speech you're gonna give on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? They won't get it, and that's totally okay, because you're gonna find new ones along the way that are gonna be like, yes, I spent all night Saturday working on my speech too.
Right.
And that's the kind of people you want to do. So surround yourself by those people, even when you're having a down moment, because eventually those people will lift you. And then you'll have your turn to do the same for them.
I have to share this. This is the second time I will give this quote in a real conversation, but it's by Grant Cardone.
Love him.
And I love him.
His wife is amazing too.
I've never met her.
I've never met her in person, but boy, let me tell you, she's a character.
I need
She
to
is the
study.
comic relief to that guy. I just love her.
Well, he's pretty funny too.
Yes.
But the saying, and it reminds me of you, and we met with another man named Terrence Butler, and I was talking with him about this. But the quote is, and then I'm going to give it to you to say goodbye and thanks for watching. But the quote is, the average call me obsessed. The successful call me for advice.
That's right.
So I love that quote. It reminds me of you. I get the 4 to midnight. It's the way it is. Although I'm usually like 8 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So my day starts a little later, goes a little longer. But I was really grateful that you chose to stop by and share with us. The women of NexCore are really powerful, and I think we've attracted a great group of women. A lot of co-working spaces struggle to find their balance between ethnicity and diversity and gender, and we attract some pretty killer women in our space, and you are definitely one of them. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For
That's a
being here.
wonderful compliment to hear from someone.
Any parting words for the audiences?
You know, just go for it. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. You just keep working on it and keep getting better, and it'll happen. I know it'll happen. I know it is.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching Coleen Dabbs on The Real Conversation.
Thank you.